인공지능과 함께하는 우리의 미래는 어떤 모습일까요? 이 자리에서는 수잔 A씨 교수님을 모시고 이 문제를 깊이 들여다보겠습니다. 오늘 이 자리에 수잔 교수님을 특별히 모셔야 하는 이유는 40살 안 된 최고 경제학자에게 주는 존 베이츠 클락 메달을 2007년에 수상을 하셨고, 인공지능을 만든 기업, 또 그런 기업들의 시장 독점을 맡는 정부에서 모두 일한 경험을 갖고 있기 때문입니다. Okay, let's talk about AI, and starting with tech firm. There are concerns if whether AI is enabling tech firms to grow bigger when they are already dominant.
People talked a lot about concerns with competition in chips, and they also talked about competition at the large language model layer. But there are many layers of the stack here. And I think a misconception is that the only firms creating AI are the ones building the biggest models. What we heard from lots of different companies is that many companies are actually using open source AI models. And once they combine the open models with their own data, they can actually create internal products for specialized tasks that are more effective than just using the off-the-shelf largest models. So one company talked at my conference about how they were running their entire global customer service organization using 4 GPUs, which is so not a lot, very cheap computing, and they had fine-tuned an open source model. So they weren't paying anybody to use that. Now, at the moment, just today, that works just as well, and in fact better than using the largest models. But there's no guarantee that will continue. It could be that the leading firms get so far ahead that the open source models don't keep up and they're not good enough. But at the moment, actually those open source models can play an important role in keeping the prices down for the largest models because you have a good alternative. The open models also have these other advantages that you can use them anywhere in the world. Governments can use them. Researchers can use them. I use them at Stanford. I can use just Stanford computers to train my own models. Yes, I am very concerned about market power there, and that would have a negative impact on the world. And it's something to be afraid of. There's also another possible world where the open models continue to grow and continue to be a big competitor, as long as we don't decide that they have too much national security risk or they don't create too many risks, then we could have quite a bit of competition.
Only a few big tech firms in Silicon Valley can purchase the NVIDIA chips. What do you think is the impact of the monopoly in chip industry?
That some customers were concerned that if they tried to find an alternative to the leading GPU manufacturers, they might get pushed to the back of the line for the NVIDIA chips. So there's a lot of concerns that people have raised about competition in those chips. And of course, if you have market power, you have no incentive to expand capacity as fast as society wants you to. Right now, all across the world, there's so many applications you could build if you just have more chips. But the dominant firm doesn't have the incentive to expand capacity as fast as the rest of us would like. But that's bad enough. That's sort of the short-run problem, is high prices. But the long-run problem is, what if a leading manufacturer can actually get in the way of new entrants by making their products incompatible? There's lots of things that go into having multiple chip providers beyond just the chips. You also need software that helps firms use multiple chip manufacturers. And you need software that helps them write code that will work on both if they're going to use different chips. So those other layers are also important, but sometimes a dominant firm can squash those other layers by not cooperating with them or by making it difficult for people to switch. So those types of considerations are things that I think we'll have to keep a close eye on. And we've seen those tricks in the past where a dominant firm We saw it in the Microsoft case in the 90s when they had the operating system and this browser came in. And when you use the browser a lot, you don't care so much whether you're on Windows or Apple or something else because the browser is a browser. So it makes the operating system less important. So that kind of middleware that can help people switch and make them not care so much about what's underneath, that's very threatening to a dominant firm. So we've also want to make sure that all of the other firms out there that could help facilitate the entry of new chip providers, we need to make sure that those firms have a chance to succeed and that we do see a development of an ecosystem that supports competitors in chips. That's going to be important for the world, I think.
Move to the AI chip export ban to China. Do you agree with the opinion that policy damages to the benefit of the industry and customers?
Things get all mixed up with national security and nationalism and protectionism. But in general, the world benefits if we have competing manufacturers. And so, understanding what are the barriers to entry is important. So I mentioned earlier the middleware. If there's good middleware, it can facilitate the entry of new chip manufacturers. I want to come back to the open models of AI. That really does give a chance for different countries to participate. Anybody can use the open models from Meta, or there's multiple open models. And so that means even if you're a smaller country, because it's cheap to build these, it's free to start building on top of them, then even if you have a smaller market, you don't have to pay the fixed cost of developing the whole model from scratch. You can customize it. So I actually think that the structure of this industry with a few open models and then lots of people specializing them is a really healthy model for smaller countries. You may not be able to participate in the innovation of the largest models, but you can definitely participate in the innovation in the next layer. Each company can make their own custom model. So the scale needed at the application of AI level is actually smaller than it ever was. If you wanted to understand text, you used to need to be a very big company with lots of text data. But now you can build on the large language model. Understanding text, that problem is already solved. So now you just have to worry about understanding your text specifically, but you don't have to build a whole model of language, which requires huge amounts of data.
긴 시간 동안 말씀해 주셔서 감사합니다. 오늘 좋은 말씀 감사합니다.